off. We're down here for the Mississippi Construction Education Foundation Skills Competition. Joining us now, Wendy Clemmons, Associate Superintendent of Secondary Education with the Mississippi Department of Education. Wendy, I've been talking about bragging on all those youngsters in there building all that stuff.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool.
Not only that, but I also want to brag on the number of non-traditional students that we have in our competition. We have increased the number of non-traditional students that are in our different programs, and I went through this morning at 8 o'clock when they sounded the bell and everybody started working, and I did not find one competition that there was not a female student involved in that competition.
How about that?
And so that represents our non-traditional careers for students.
Well, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
what exactly is your function at the Department of Education with secondary education?
I work primarily with both academic and career and technical education, and part of the reason that I work with both of those is because it's important that the two be commingled and that it's not one or the other. In CTE, we actually brag about our graduation rate. In 21-22, we had a graduation rate of 99% in career and technical education. And we believe that number is what it is because of the hands-on application of what the students are learning, which is represented here at Skills. And so we want to find opportunities to blend the academic with the career and technical education. Not that 15, 16, 17-year-olds have to know what they want to be when they grow up, but at least they get to experiment with what they want to be when they grow up. And these programs, if you haven't noticed, if the child decides they don't want to do that, they do leave high school with what we call transferable skills.
Sure.
That they can apply to what it is that they do want to be when they grow up.
Yeah,
So,
and well, it's important just to have the exposure. I think what's so different from the days when I was going to school is that there were more limited choices in occupations.
Yes.
Now it's a giant, broad, diverse, wide, deep universe.
absolutely.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And the more you can get exposed to and something kind of tickles your fancy and says, yeah, that fits, that feels good, this is rewarding, this is enjoyable work, and I can make a living doing it.
That's correct, yeah.
And that's what we want.
Yeah, we really start working with students as early as 6th and 7th grade. Some districts obviously start in kindergarten, 1st grade.
Yeah.
Trying to expose students to careers that they wouldn't normally be exposed to. And then in the middle school, we began to assess their aptitude for that field, their interest in that field. And then we look to support programs that are high wage, high demand programs so that our students, when they leave us, whatever their post-secondary experience is, they have something to lean into.
Yeah.
So
how does this, when you think about secondary education, the traditional classroom education, which of course is important, that subject matter we all need to function in society, but how does that synergize with this sort of education?
We being the Department of Education, is supporting an effort in our state called Career Academies. We have about 30 districts that are implementing career academies in some shape, form, or fashion. And what that allows us to do is take students in a particular career field, be it health science or construction, carpentry, whatever, and cohort those students so that they're going into their English classes together, they're going into their math and science classes together, and that teacher actually tries to pattern everything in English, math, science to what they're doing in their career cluster.
That makes sense.
And it just makes everything more applicable to the student.
Yeah.
You and I know that years ago, well, for me, years ago when I was in the classroom and I was reading Beowulf, I was thinking, well, this is cool, but what am I going to do? And so just trying to find that literature to get students really seeing the applicability of what they're reading and how that's going to help them after they leave high school.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us at that age think, I'll never use this, and then sure enough, they end up using it, of course.
Exactly.
You don't know, but You know, I often think it's more about learning how to learn as much as it is the specific content.
Absolutely, it is. We focus a lot on, in our curricula, we focus, particularly in CTE, we focus a lot on what they call metacognition, and that is self-monitoring your learning and understanding what you're learning and how you learn.
Right.
Because as adults, we're always learning.
Sure.
I mean, you know.
Never ends.
And if we know how we learn best, then we are going to be lifelong learners.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we incorporate into the state curriculum is about metacognition, knowing how to learn.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that because, not sure you're aware, I worked in the IT industry, my professional career, and of course, we would often, we'd find ourselves in situations where, now you're starting your education. You're not ending it because you've graduated and you've got these degrees and credentials and so forth. That's really just a license to go learn more is what it is. And we were constantly, of course, being faced with whole new technologies that we'd have to go master and become proficient in. So
Absolutely.
it's important to learn, how to read, how to interpret,
Right.
how to apply.
Yeah.
And that's applicable across a broad spectrum of occupations
Sure.
and disciplines. And so it's just important to learn, how to consume, how to comprehend, and how to practically apply those skills in the workforce.
Absolutely. And those types of things really don't change. However, we analyze and look at our curriculum every 3 years.
Yes.
Because like you said, in the IT world, if it's 3 years old, it's kind of archaic, you know, you're looking forward. So we may have to change our curriculum based on what the industry requires of our students, but that basic love of learning, that application, how to learn, that never changes.
It's universal, too.
It's universal.
It's absolutely universal.
Yep.
And I just remember back in my days where you felt like, well, okay, I'm done with the books now. I've learned it. Now I go work, and pretty much just repetitive. And it's just not anymore every single day. And it doesn't matter the industry. Construction is no exception to that.
Absolutely. You're correct. You're absolutely correct.
Watching the folks in there dealing with the HVAC systems, I'm in the process of installing new home automation solution in my home. And just how fascinating, how complex, how sophisticated that technology is in the home. And you consider everything now that is digitally connected, but all that also has to interface and be included in the construction design.
That's right.
And the actual construction project itself. So that's just changed that whole world considerably.
Yeah, it's amazing how technology is so incorporated into all of our career and technical education fields. I mean, all of them. You know, we're working right now on a curriculum for unmanned aerial systems. You know, because again, that's a world. That's the world we're living in. You
No
know?
doubt about it.
And it impacts so many fields, and allows them to work more efficiently. And so it's a demand. So we try to meet that demand.
So to what extent, Wendy, does the Department of Education, perhaps in your role in your office, to what extent are you interacting with the private sector to understand more? What are they looking for? What skills are they perhaps seeing a deficiency in of graduates? They come to you and say, we'd really like to ramp that up somewhat.
We do that in various ways. The first of which is when we are writing curricula, and revisit that every 3 years, business and industry is highly involved in the writing of that curriculum. And so that's first and foremost. So they're telling us as we write, this is what we need. This needs to be different than what it was, you know. So that's first and foremost. We also work through nonprofit organizations like MCEF to get business and industry more involved. We have advisory boards where we get business and industry involved. We are constantly talking with business and industry to determine what it is that they need. We also communicate with post-secondary institutions as well to make sure that our secondary programs bridge into what we have in our post-secondary arena in case students need to continue on in order to get a particular certification.
It's good to hear, because you know that children, it's estimated that children born today will occupy jobs that have yet to be invented.
That's correct.
So we got to continue to adjust and evolve our education systems to accommodate the jobs of the future.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming on, Wendy. Good
Thank
job
you.
and great work here. And I'm so proud of these students. They look good, don't they?
Doesn't it look wonderful?
It's awesome.
It's awesome. I agree.
Coming right back, we've got Representative Jill Ford at 12:37. Stay with us, please. We're at the Mississippi Trademart.